I saw my brother on a Wednesday in Dubai, 10 years after I helped lower his coffin into Botswana soil. The restaurant was called Afrique Moderne, tucked between gleaming high-rises in Business Bay. My colleagues had been raving about it for weeks. Authentic African fusion, they said, the kind that made you homesick even if you'd never been to the continent. I went along because I was new, because I wanted to fit in, because I thought maybe tasting African food would ease the hollow ache that came with being so far from Botswana. We ate well, seswa infused with truffle oil, some fufu with efo riro, and a palm nut wine. My colleagues laughed loudly, ordered drinks I couldn't pronounce. The noise built until it pressed against my temples like hands. I got a glimpse of the chef as he stepped to the counter and used sign language with a waitress. My heart stopped. For a second there, I thought I saw Luke, my late brother. Oh well, people look alike. But I could not get rid of that gnawing feeling that I had to follow this up. I saw the chef walk out through the back door. I had to have a closer look at him. I need to take this, I lied, waving my phone as I stood. Nobody noticed. They were too busy arguing about football. The alley behind the restaurant was narrow, dimly lit by a single bulb that flickered with the rhythm of a failing heart. I leaned against the cool brick wall and breathed in air that smelled of oil and spices and something underneath, something organic and slightly sweet, like decay masked by perfume. Then he came out. He emerged from the kitchen's back door wearing chef's whites, untying an apron as he walked. The light caught his face just right. The scar across his forehead, pale and raised, a crescent moon marking where a horse had kicked him when we were boys at our grandmother's farm, was unmistakable. People may look alike, but to have the exact same, unique scar, in the exact place. Luke. The word fell from my mouth like a stone into still water. He froze. Our eyes met. In that suspended moment, I saw everything. Recognition, horror, pleading. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then he ran. Luke! Luke! I chased him, my work shoes slapping against wet pavement. He was fast, impossibly fast, darting through the alley with the grace of something hunted. My lungs burned. He burst onto the main street, and I followed, calling his name like an incantation that might make the impossible real. But Dubai swallowed him whole. The crowd of evening shoppers and tourists closed around him like water around a drowning man. I spun in circles, searching every face, but they were all strangers. When I stumbled back into the restaurant, my colleagues looked at me with concern. You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost. The words stuck in my throat. When they finally came, they sounded insane even to my own ears. I saw my brother, Luke. I buried Luke 10 years ago in Botswana, and I just saw him. He was wearing a chef's uniform. He was here. Silence settled over our table like dust. Mate, said Jeremy, the Australian engineer who'd been here longest. Maybe it was just someone who looked like him. Dubai's full of... No. I gripped the edge of the table. I saw his scar, the one across his forehead. He got it when he was 12. A horse kicked him. It's him. They exchanged glances, the kind of glances people share when someone's losing their grip. Leon, Sarah, the project coordinator, spoke carefully, like I was something breakable. Didn't you say your brother passed away? 10 years ago. The words tasted like grave dirt. But I saw him. I pushed back from the table and went to the kitchen. The heat hit me first, a wall of it, thick with steam and smoke. Chefs moved in choreographed chaos. I grabbed the first person I could, a sous chef with tired eyes. Luke Mora Pady. Is he here? Does he work here? The man's expression shifted from confusion to irritation. No Luke here. Please, you can't be in the kitchen. The chef, one of your chefs. A woman appeared, the manager, from her bearing. Sir, I need you to leave the kitchen. Now. I just saw him. He came out the back door. We have 3 chefs. I cannot give their personal information to strangers. He's my brother. Sir, he died 10 years ago, but I just saw him. The words erupted from me before I could stop them. The manager's face hardened. I'm calling security. You need to leave immediately, or I'll call the police. We don't tolerate this kind of harassment. My colleagues collected me like something broken, ushered me out with gentle hands and gentler lies about jet lag and stress. But I knew what I'd seen. I'd memorized Luke's face in the coffin, the stillness of it, the way his skin had already started to look like wax. I'd watched them lower him into the earth, while Dana, his girlfriend, sobbed so hard she vomited in the grass. Dana and Luke had started dating in senior school. She was from money. We weren't. She invested in him, sponsored his life through tertiary, and paid for his culinary studied in France. Luke had come back and rose the rank quickly as Gaborone top chef, Dana still by his side. Luke had been everything. The golden boy, the one who made it out of our underprivileged neighborhood through charm and ambition. He'd gone to culinary school on Dana's pay and encouragement. She'd loved him with the kind of love that makes people do foolish things, and he'd repaid her by proposing to another woman at the birthday party Dana organized for him. I still remembered the sound Dana made when she saw him on one knee, ring box open, asking another woman to be his wife. Not quite a scream, more like the sound of something fundamental breaking. She'd run out crying, and nobody had stopped her. Later that night, Luke's car had met a truck on the A1 road. The police said he'd been drinking, driving too fast. The car crumpled like paper. I was 17 when I saw his body in the morgue. When I helped my father pick out a coffin. When I paid my last respects, watching him look so serene in that coffin. When I stood at the graveside and watched my mother's legs give out beneath her, as the coffin was lowered into the ground and they began covering it with soil. But the man I'd seen tonight, that was my brother, and he hadn't aged a day. I saw him again 3 days later. I'd spent those days in a fog, going through the motions at work, but unable to focus. My colleagues whispered. I caught fragments, breakdown, grief, stress. The project manager suggested I take some time off. I nodded like it made sense. I was walking through the Gold Souk, barely seeing the glittering displays, when I spotted him getting into a taxi. And beside him, Dana. My blood turned to ice. "Luke!" I screamed, running. He turned. Our eyes locked. What I saw in his face made my stomach drop. Not joy at being recognized, not relief. Terror. Pure animal terror. The taxi pulled away. I ran after it, shoving through tourists, but Dubai's traffic swallowed them like all things here. Efficiently, completely, without trace. I stood on the sidewalk, gasping, fumbling for my phone. My fingers shook as I typed the message to Dana. "I saw you with Luke. How is he here? Luke died." Her response came within minutes. "You're insane. Luke is dead. We buried him. Remember?" Then another message, a photo. Dana stood with a man who looked similar to Luke, same height, same build, but the face was wrong, close but not quite right, like a painting copied from memory. This is my boyfriend Jacob, not Luke. I had seen my brother with her that day. Not this man. I stared at the photo until my eyes burned. The thing was, I'd been there. I'd helped pull Luke's body from the wreckage. I'd seen the damage. I'd watched them close the coffin and lower it to the ground, cover it with soil. And yet the man I'd seen had Luke's scar, Luke's walk, Luke's exact face from when I last saw him, unchanged by a decade's passage. The dreams started that night. In them, Luke sat in a corner of a traditional hut, surrounded by other men. All of them had the same expression, vacant, glassy-eyed, like fish on ice. None of them spoke. They just sat there, staring at nothing, while somewhere in the darkness, something laughed. I woke up screaming. Work became impossible. I'd stare at blueprints and see only Luke's pleading eyes. My calculations went wrong. I missed meetings. The project manager called me into his office and suggested, firmly, that I take leave. "Go home," he said, not unkindly. "See your family. Whatever's happening with you, you need to sort it out away from here." I went back to the restaurant first. The hostess recognized me, stepped back warily. "I just want to know about the chef who quit," I said, trying to sound reasonable. "Please, where does he live?" She shook her head. "I can't help you. Please leave." But I'd seen the truth in her eyes. Someone had quit. Recently. My small, far from anything home village welcomed me home with unseasonable heat and the smell of rain that never came. My mother cried when she saw me, felt my forehead like I was sick with fever. "You look terrible," she said. "What's happened to you?" I waited until after dinner, until my father was settled in his chair with his tea, until the words couldn't stay locked inside anymore. "I need you to excavate Luke's grave." The silence that followed was absolute. "What did you say?" My father's voice was very quiet, the shock in his voice very palpable. "My people respected the dead. We didn't dig them up, ever. I saw him, in Dubai. I know how it sounds, but... You want us to dig up your brother's grave?" My mother's face had gone pale. "You want us to disturb his rest because you had a hallucination?" "It wasn't a hallucination. I saw him. I saw the scar. Enough." My father stood, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear in his eyes. "That is taboo. We do not disturb the dead. We do not dishonor Luke's memory because you're having a mental breakdown." "Papa, please." "No." He walked away, my mother following. Their bedroom door closed like the ceiling of a tomb. I lay in my childhood bed that night, staring at glow-in-the-dark stars Luke had helped me stick to the ceiling when I was 8. The dreams came again. Worse this time, Luke reached for me, his mouth moving, but no sound came out. Just silence, and the terrible emptiness in his eyes. I tried Dana next. Her house was in the new development, on the outskirts of Francistown, the kind of place where old money and new money mingled uncomfortably. The gate was solid steel, topped with electric wire. Guards stood like statues. "I need to see Dana," I told them. They didn't respond, didn't even look at me directly, just stood there, silent and still. "Dana, I know you're in there. I just want to talk," I yelled, trying to push into the gate. One of the guards moved then, putting his hand on my chest. His palm was cold. His eyes were empty. He pushed, not roughly, not gently, just pushed. Mechanical, inevitable. I stumbled back, something cold crawling up my spine. That's when I saw her. Dana, in a black Mercedes SUV, the kind that cost more than my parents' house. Designer sunglasses. Hermes bags visible through the window. The gate opened, and she drove through without even glancing in my direction. The guards stopped me when I tried to run in. Something was odd with them. They all had the same expression, the same emptiness I'd seen in my dreams, the same deadness I'd glimpsed in Luke's eyes before he ran. And they never spoke. Not once. I was going to find out the truth, and I knew where to start. Luke's grave. I spent a week planning, visiting my old work site, the one where they still had excavation equipment. The night watchman was someone I'd worked with before. A few hundred pula, and a story about needing to dig up a water line at my parents' house, and he looked the other way. The excavator roared to life under my hands. I'd operated these machines before, but never like this. Never at midnight, driving through empty streets toward a cemetery, dirt and oil under my fingernails, and madness in my heart. The graveyard gates were closed, but not locked. The excavator's headlights cut through darkness thick enough to choke on. Headstones cast shadows that looked like clawed hands. The whole place felt wrong, the air too still, too heavy, like the earth itself was holding its breath. I found Luke's grave by memory. The headstone was modest. Luke Morapedi, beloved son and brother, gone too soon. "I'm sorry," I whispered and started digging. The excavator's bucket bit into earth that seemed reluctant to give up its secrets. Each scoop felt like transgression. Somewhere, a nightbird called out, a sound like a child crying. The wind picked up, carrying whispers that might have been voices or might have been just wind. Deeper, deeper. The hole yawned open like a mouth. The bucket hit something solid with a thunk that rattled my teeth. I climbed down into the grave, my phone's flashlight cutting through the darkness. The coffin was there, water-stained and partially rotted. My hands shook as I attached the chains. The excavator groaned as it lifted. The coffin rose from the earth like something resurrected, dirt falling away in clumps. I lowered it to the surface, my heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. The lid was swollen from moisture, but it gave way when I pried at it. The smell hit me first. Not decay, not exactly. Something else, something wrong. I shone the light inside. Bones. But not human bones. The skull was too long, the jaw too pronounced. Ribs too narrow. And there, caught in the joints, remnants of hide, brittle, dried, with patches of fur still clinging to it. A hyena. We'd buried a hyena in my brother's grave. But I had seen my brother in this very coffin, watched it closed and lowered into the ground, stayed until the grave was sealed and tombstone placed. "Now you know." I whirled around. Dana stood at the edge of the grave, illuminated by the excavator's lights. She wore a massive black fur coat despite the heat, boots that came to her knees, gloves that looked like they cost more than my car. She looked like something from a nightmare, wealth and cruelty wrapped in designer labels. She laughed. The sound echoed across the graveyard, bouncing off headstones, multiplying until it seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You couldn't leave it alone, could you?" she said, tilting her head like a predator studying prey. "You had to dig. What did you do with my brother?" My voice came out strangled. "Me?" She smiled. "I saved him. He was spiraling, letting fame and idiocy get to his head. I had to save him. I gave him purpose. He's useful now, you see, Obedient. He doesn't talk back anymore, doesn't cheat, doesn't lie." Movement behind her. Figures emerged from the darkness, 4 men, all with the same vacant expressions, all moving with the same uncanny grace. One of them was Luke. "Luke!" I screamed. "It's me!" His eyes found mine. For a moment, just a moment, I saw recognition and agony. Then his face went blank again. "Get him, boys," Dana said pleasantly, like she was calling dogs. They came at me. I ran. Behind me, footsteps pounded. Too many, too fast, too coordinated. Dana's laughter chased me across the graveyard, between headstones towards the tree line where the cemetery gave way to bush. I crashed into the forest, branches tearing at my face and hands. Thorns caught my clothes. My lungs screamed for air. They didn't slow, didn't tire, just kept coming with mechanical persistence. I could hear them breathing. Synchronous, rhythmic, wrong. You can't run forever, Dana's voice drifted through the trees. Eventually you'll tire. They won't. I stumbled, caught myself on a tree trunk. My legs felt like water. How long had I been running? Minutes? Hours? They were getting closer. I spotted a clearing ahead, what looked like a structure. A hut. It was inside a lone yard with barbed wire, but the gate was open. Maybe there was someone in there who could help me. I didn't think, just ran toward it, burst through the door and... Hands grabbed me. I fought, screaming, but they were too strong, too many. They wrestled me to the ground, dragged me inside, tied my hands to a wooden post driven deep into the earth. I was in a small hut, dirt floor, walls made of mud, cow dung and wooden poles, the room thatched with grass. A single oil lamp provided flickering light. 2 of Dana's men stood guard beside me, motionless. Across the room, another man was tied to a post. He was crying, tears streaming down his face, making tracks through dirt and blood. The door opened. Dana entered, removing her gloves finger by finger with deliberate care. "Welcome to the treatment center," she said brightly. "A place where I make men." She paused with a cruel smile that made my blood run cold. "Better don't worry. It hurts at first, but then you stop feeling much of anything at all." She walked to the crying man, cupped his face with her bare hands. "Look at you. Such a good boy now. Not fighting anymore, not trying to run. The medicine is working so well." She stroked his cheek like he was a pet. "Soon you'll join the others abroad and earn me money. Where shall we send you?" That farm in Australia pays well. Tomato picking. You can do extra shifts too. 12-hour days, 7 days a week. You'll do so well there. Should be able to earn me about 45,000 a month. Decent." The man just whimpered. She turned to me, smiled. "Your turn soon. You'll make a fine addition. Strong, healthy, construction too. You will earn so well for me." From a shelf lined with bottles, she selected one filled with something that made my stomach turn. Thick, greenish-gray, things floating in it that might have been plant matter or might have been something alive. The smell when she opened it was indescribable, rot and chemicals, and underneath, something organic that made my hindbrain scream wrong, wrong, wrong. She brought it to the crying man. He opened his mouth obediently. "See," she said to me. "He doesn't even fight anymore. He wants it." The man drank, swallowed. His eyes went glassy. "Perfect. He's ready." Dana set down the bottle and picked up something else. A knife, its blade catching the lamplight. 2 more men entered. They held the crying man down. Dana leaned down, caressing his face like one would with a pet. The man smiled happily, but then she grabbed tongue, digging her long manicured nails into it for grip, and started pulling it out. The man started to scream, terror and hopelessness tinting his voice. Dana cut out his tongue. Blood poured from his mouth, dark, thick, too much of it. He thrashed, choking, gurgling, the sound wet and horrible. I was screaming too, yanking at my bonds until my wrists bled. Luke appeared in the doorway, leading a hyena on a crude rope. The animal snarled, foam at its mouth. "Thank you, love," Dana said to him. She slit the hyena's throat with one precise motion, held it upside down over the man's face. Blood gushed out, gallons of it, impossible amounts, pouring into his mouth, down his throat. He gurgled, drowning in it, body convulsing. Dana stroked his face, smearing blood across his cheek. "Shh, shh, you'll be fine. Just let it work." She poured the putrid mixture from the bottle into his mouth next. Mixed with blood, It looked like toxic sludge. The man's convulsions slowed, stopped. The bleeding from his ruined mouth ceased, impossibly. He went still. She held his tongue, but I could still see an illusion of a tongue in his mouth. His eyes opened. Empty. Dead. Like the rest of the men. Like Luke. Perfect, Dana breathed. She looked at him with something like love. Australia next week. You'll do so well. She turned to the other men, who'd been watching silently. Good work, boys. That's when I noticed. Really noticed. None of them had tongues. When their mouths opened, I could see just scarred stumps where tongues should be. Somehow whatever illusion was used to fool the outside world to not see their lack of tongue, it had lifted for me. And I could see. Dana reached into a pouch at her belt and scattered something on the floor. Dried meat, biltong, dark and shriveled. And I had a sinking feeling it was not cow. The men screeched, actually screeched, a sound no human throat should make. They fell on the scraps like animals, snatching, fighting, shoving the meat into their mouths with desperate hunger. Dana pet them as they ate, running her hands through their hair, caressing their faces. They leaned into her touch like dogs, their empty eyes brightening. Then she looked at me. Your turn. I thrashed, fought, screamed until my voice broke. They held me down. Dana pinched my nose shut, forced the bottle to my lips. I tried to keep my mouth closed, but eventually I had to breathe. The liquid poured in, thick, vile, tasting like death and chemicals and something underneath that made my soul recoil. I had to swallow or drown. It went down like glass, burned like acid. And then the world went soft. The fear bled away like water through sand. My muscles relaxed. I looked up at Dana's face and felt affection, gratitude. She was beautiful, wasn't she? Kind, taking care of me. She kept me safe. I smiled at her with puppy dog devotion. She smiled back, triumphant. See? Easy. She patted my head and left. Time became strange after that. Dana came daily, fed me the liquid, fed the others their scraps of meat. Each time I drank, the world got softer, warmer. The fear became distant, like something happening to someone else. But somewhere deep inside, a small part of me was screaming. On the 7th day, Dana came with her knife. You're ready, she announced happily. That small part of me, the part still screaming, surged forward. Fear, real, sharp, cutting through the fog. My head hurt. The pain was like being struck by lightning, sudden, clarifying, agonizing. I wanted more medicine. The medicine made the pain stop, made everything soft. Dana brought the bottle. I took it eagerly, tilted it to my mouth, let it pour in. My inner voice screamed, "No, no, you can't drink, no." And when she turned away to throw meat to the others, I spit it out, covered the wet spot with dirt using my foot. I let my head loll, made my face slack, played the part. Good boy, Dana murmured, checking my bonds. Now let's make you permanent. They held me down. I saw the knife, waited, waited. As the blade touched my cheek, I moved. I thrashed with every ounce of strength I had left. The knife cut me, a line of fire across my face, but I got my head away from the worst of it. My foot caught Dana in the stomach. She stumbled back, surprised. I was up, running, crashing through the door into darkness. Behind me, screeches. Inhuman sounds from human throats. The forest at night was a nightmare made real. Trees became grasping hands. Shadows moved independently. I heard whispers that might have been wind or might have been voices of the dead we'd disturbed. My body felt wrong, woozy, disconnected. I craved the medicine with physical intensity that made me want to vomit. But I kept running. They were gaining. I could hear them, impossibly fast, tireless. And underneath it all, Dana's voice, laughing. I hid behind a fallen log, gasping, trying to still my thundering heart and catch my breath. The forest shifted. Dana stepped into a shaft of moonlight, and she wasn't entirely human anymore. Her fingers had elongated, curved into claws. Her face had stretched, jaw unhinging. Her eyes caught the light like an animal's, reflecting, predatory, hungry. Come out," she sang. "You can't escape. The medicine is in you now. You'll always crave it, always need me. Why fight?" I saw movement and nearly screamed. A girl, teenager, maybe 16, standing between trees. She was translucent, glowing faintly. "The tree," she whispered, pointing up. "Hide." I didn't question, just climbed. My hands found holds in bark. My feet pushed against branches, up and up, until I was hidden in the canopy, breathing through my mouth to stay quiet. Below, Dana prowled. The men fanned out, searching, their heads swiveling with mechanical precision. Dana stopped directly below me. "I can smell you," she hissed. I didn't breathe, didn't move. She stood there for an eternity. Finally, she moved on, her transformed body slinking through shadows like something that had never been human. The girl appeared again, standing on a branch next to me. "When she's beneath you," she whispered. "Jump. There's glass shard near her, there. Can you see it?" Yes." "Good. Use it. Go for her neck. She is strong. You only have the element of surprise with you." "Who are you?" I asked, my eyes still trying to adjust to me being here, talking to a translucent girl. Which was not the strangest thing about my week so far. "Dana's sister, the one she killed." The girl's smile was sad. "She needs to die. It's too much now. She has over 50 men around the world. She will never stop. She has to die. It's the only way to free them." Dana circled back. I waited. When she was directly below, studying tracks, I jumped. Fell like a stone, crashed into her back, and sent her hurtling to the ground. My hand found the glass shard, large, curved, sharp. I drove it into her neck with all my weight behind it. Dana screamed, a sound like rending metal. Blood sprayed, black in the moonlight. She thrashed, those clawed hands reaching back, catching my arm, tearing flesh. I twisted the glass, pushed deeper. She convulsed, went still. The forest erupted in screaming. The men, all of them, charged at me like berserkers. No strategy, no precision, just rage and grief and something that might have been the last shreds of their humanity, mourning their captor. They hit me like a wave, fists, teeth, nails. Luke was among them, his empty eyes suddenly filled with anguish, tears streaming down his face as he struck me again and again. "Stop!" The voice cut through chaos like a knife, and stood there, fully physical now, glowing with soft light. The men froze. "Such behavior is unacceptable," she said, her voice carrying authority that seemed impossible from someone so young. "You will cease immediately." They lowered their fists, stepped back, stood at attention like soldiers. She looked at me, her eyes infinitely sad. "You must kill them." "What?" "No. They're a slave zombie, changed completely. There's no coming back from what she did to them." One gestured at the men. "Some have been enslaved for decades. My family has been doing this for generations, you see, passing down their workers like inheritance. These men, they're not men anymore. Just shells wrapped around curses, trapped souls that watch themselves daily, helplessly serve the very same person who trapped them." watch themselves love her with unwavering devotion. I looked at Luke, my brother. He stared back with eyes that held both nothing and everything, empty yet full of wordless pleading. How? My voice broke. How did this happen? One drifted closer. My family is old, Leon. Old and evil. My great-great-great-grandmother made a deal with something ancient. Something older than humanity has been walking the earth. Her crops were failing, her livestock dying, and her family was dying. So she made the deal, sacrificed her second daughter, her most beloved, and gained power. Power to enslave others and have them serve her, make her prosperous. She passed that power to her other daughters, and they passed it down through generations. She sighed sadly. Every generation, they sacrifice the second daughter of the second son to the thing they serve. My father, he was the second son. When I was born, his second daughter, he knew what they'd do. So he ran, left the wealth, the power, everything. Started new. She looked at Dana's body. Life was hard. We were so poor. Dana resented that. She had lived in wealth with our extended family until my father took us and left. She wasn't adjusting to the new life, missed the money, the status. When she was old enough, she went back, found them, our family, and when they asked her to help with the sacrifice, Joan's voice went hollow. She said yes, killed me herself, actually. The family rewarded her, taught her the old ways, gave her control of a slave zombie. She stared into space sadly. And when your brother hurt her, it broke her. That's when she started turning men. He was her first slave. Then she was on a rampage, turning anyone who crossed her, sending them abroad to work for her, earning her money while she lived like a queen. Dana was never good, but your brother was the final straw that tipped her all the way to the darkness. Luke made a sound, a keening, tongueless wail. The kind thing, one said gently, would be to free them. I can't kill my brother. You already lost him, 10 years ago when she turned him. She did it that night, didn't she? I whispered. After he proposed to someone else at the party she planned for him. She made him a slave zombie for what he did to her. Yes, but I saw him in the coffin. It was never him. She put a hyena in the coffin, used witchcraft to make it look like him for a little while, until he was buried. And then she took him abroad with her. Built her empire on enslaved men who couldn't refuse, couldn't talk, couldn't disobey. I looked at the men. They stood in a line, waiting. Patient. Empty. You have to free them, said. She turned to a slave zombie. You will stand for him. They obeyed, formed a line. Luke was first. He looked at me. And in that moment, I saw my brother. Just a flash, just a glimpse of who he'd been. He nodded, just once. Permission. Gratitude. Please. I picked up the knife Dana had dropped. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. I cut his throat. He fell without a sound, and something, some light, some essence, drifted up from his body and dissipated into the night air. The next man stepped forward, then the next, then the next. I killed them all. 7 men who'd been enslaved, transformed, forced to serve. I freed them the only way I could. When it was done, I fell to my knees, covered in blood, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. The earth will take them, one said. She chanted something in a language I didn't know. The ground rippled, opened. Burn them first, give them dignity, then let them rest. I worked until dawn, building a pyre, watching bodies burn, saying prayers I half remembered from funerals. One stood vigil with me, her form growing more ghostly as the night went on. When it was time to bury them, I worked with my hands, covering the ashes, marking the spot with stones. The sun rose, pink and gold and terrible in its beauty. What happens now? I asked. You said there were more abroad. Will her death free them? Yor saw the ones here. Were they free after she died? No. Exactly. They cannot be restored, Leon. They are gone. Lost forever. What happens next is up to you. When you find your phone back at her hut, you will find a note of all the man she has abroad. You can choose to go free them too. Kill them. I will put a note of her card details for the travel expenses. You want me to go around killing people? Not people. Trapped souls, zombies, slaves. If I don't, our family will know of Dana's death by the end of the week when they don't hear from her and start looking. Then our third sister will take over and keep those men enslaved and earning for her. And eventually, when she is old and dying, pass them to her daughter. I came to save you because I saw something in you, Leon. I can't tell you what to do, but to these souls you just freed, your mercy means everything. One looked toward the horizon. Now I can rest knowing there is a chance for all those souls. And you carry this. You know the truth, what you do with it. She shrugged. That's up to you. Be careful, Leon. They don't forgive people who interfere with their operations. They will come after you. I left you everything you need to survive them, on that note in your phone. She was almost invisible now. Wait. But she was gone. I sat there as the sun rose higher, illuminating the forest, making everything look clean and new and normal. My clothes were tattered, and my muscle burnt from running and dragging bodies and burning them and covering ashes with dirt. My cheeks still bled, lesser now. I was covered in bruises and scratches, and my body felt like it had been run over by a truck after the beating the slave zombies had given me. I stood up and painfully dragged myself through the forest, back to the hut. I found my phone on the shelf. Bottles of that putrid liquid lined the shelves, and my body craved it something bad. I reached out to it, my hands trembling. I had to physically drag myself away from the bottles. Outside, I siphoned a bit of petrol from Dana's car, poured it all over the house, and took the matches from the shelf. I picked up my phone and walked out, lighting the matches and throwing it inside the house. I stood at a distance and watched as the fire engulfed the hut. I got into Dana's car and drove off, my body screaming in pain. I unlocked my phone and went straight to my notes. And right there, as she had promised, was a very long note with everything I'd need. Somewhere Dana's family would learn what had happened, would come looking, and I would be waiting. Because the thing about monsters is, sometimes you can't run away. Sometimes you have to become the thing that hunts them back.